Just a quick overview of this Barricade mod that I did. Started it the beginning of 2016 and finished mid 2016. The interesting thing about this is that it is full auto, technically. You can hold the trigger and it'll keep firing. The catch though is that it's only about 1 dart per second, so you could fire something bolt action or completely manual faster than this can shoot. So how it works is there is a servo here, and that basically automates the firing mech just the way that the trigger would have, and then I effectively cut the trigger along here so that's detached from the firing mech. And then I've got 2 micro switches in behind the trigger, so it's 2-stage. You pull to there to rev, and then all the way to shoot. It's a bit sensitive. Most people just pick up and go, ah, even I do. And inside here, running a 3S, and there's enough space to fit a LiPo alarm. So that's happy. It'll start beeping if the voltage gets too low. For any cell too, it's looking at cells individually using balance port. So the original switch here is now just safety. So it's back for safe, forward for fire. Which I can just do with my thumb like that. Now the motors are completely switched out, and what I did is I used, it's got brushless motors for quadcopters, and instead of attaching firewheels to those, I'm using the actual motor itself, because the outside of it spins. It's called an outrunner, where you got the center of the motor that stays still, and then around the outside the whole lot spins. So I'm just using the edge of that as a flywheel, and I didn't rough that one up on subsequent ones. I roughed it up so it gets more grip. And you can see the wires coming through. So it's 6 wires, because the controllers are back here, and you've got to get 3 wires per motor up to the front. This is the master power switch, so back for on. Takes a little bit to boot up. Yeah, I figured that feels kind of like cocking a hammer. There's a small bug where when you turn it on, it pushes a dart slightly. That seems to be... Actually, I couldn't figure out what was doing it. There's an Arduino in here, which is down in the handle. That's running the whole show, and there's some sort of bug which causes it just to go nyeh, nyeh, and it starts up. I don't know why. Another thing is this servo is really dodgy, and like it's vague. It won't go back to where it's supposed to be. So sometimes when firing, you'll see that this turret twitches and doesn't actually completely cycle to the next one, or when rotating freely, at least. Like that. Oh, that one made it. That brings me to this button here. What that does is it just slides the mech back and forth. For those who are familiar with barricades, if you half pull the trigger and then release, you can actually rotate this without actually going all the way to firing it, to pushing a dart forwards. So when you click this button, it does just that. It just rotates without actually firing. You can see in there anything that's being pushed forward. And this works even if it's in safe. So right now it's in safe. Trigger's doing nothing. So I can do this, which makes it really quick to reload. I call this Valjean just because, well, then I'd get to do a black and red theme, but also it's a reference to the Barricade name, and Valjean because, well, this is quite powerful, at least relative to the stock version. So Valjean was also stronger than most other people. So you can probably hear when it's hitting micro switches. So that click was just revs. It's not going to fire now because the safety's on. And then, yeah, last click is shoot. So there's not much distance between them. And like I kind of said, full auto is kind of pointless with this because it's so slow. Okay, so I'll take the safety off and let's hear it rev up. Now you can hear there one of the, either the ESC or the motor or both has an issue where sometimes it sort of stutters and doesn't rev up, and other times it's slower than the first one. So you can hear the top motor's fine, and then you'll hear a delay before the bottom motor has any action. Yeah, it stuttered for a while and then started up. So that's quite an issue. I basically don't care about fixing this at all because it's so slow. It's pointless. I don't play with it or anything. It's got gloss clear coat on it. That was by accident. I actually wanted something matte and I bought that by accident and just went with it, and it's terrible. I would go over that with a matte clear coat now that I've got one, if there was any point in playing with this. So this is basically my first real mod, and also pretty much first attempt at a paint job, definitely first attempt at dry brushing. So I'll hold the trigger down and do a few shots so you can see just how slow I'm talking about. So that's as fast as it can fire. And then to reload, of course, I'm just doing it at a strange angle to show you. I'm just clicking that button there when I want it to rotate. Yeah. So those actually behaved themselves and rotated properly. Yeah. Sometimes it works fine, other times it can't quite make it. We threw a lot of R&D with this, and it took a long time, just mainly just waiting for things to arrive from China. And I really had no idea that servo would be so slow. This is before I'd heard about the Auto Strife kit, and before I had the idea for my minimised nitron, which has a different sort of pusher. One last thing I almost forgot is this little switch down here. I haven't done this on any subsequent guns because I've designed a few since this one. Just the vast majority of them are unfinished. Switch down here is actually a low speed, high speed, so the firing before. So that's actually low speed. If I flick that forwards, I'm not sure if that's coming across in the camera, but it is knocking my hand back, and that's hitting up in there. And to give you an idea of range, I'll fire 8 blue darts. The first 4 will be these sucker darts, third-party ones, and the second 4 will be just standard elites, which are quite old. How often do you fire brand new ones? A door down the hallway is just over 6 meters away, which I believe is just under 20 feet for all you historians.
What